Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Barnabas Brushes. My name is Patrick. I play the character Barnabas Quint on the Elite Encounters Soul Sever campaign. We play every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Elite Encounters channel on Twitch. You can see the banner up there above me and the recommended channel below me. Be sure to check that link out and check us out live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Things are getting pretty intense over there on Elite Encounters. We had a major arena fight to prove our worth to the ruler of the city of Ash and Ember, and now we have guaranteed passage out of the city across the magma sea to the elemental tree to hopefully recover what we need to rescue Cyril. Barnabas had some pretty revealing visions and or nightmares that I think are going to catapult his story forward a little bit once we get Cyril home safe and sound. But enough about that. What we're doing here at Barnabas Brushes is painting miniatures to use for that Elite Encounter show. Right here we're painting tabletop miniatures that we use in the studio for the show. We like to kind of play it old school, kick it old school as they say. We play right in the studio around the table with each other with terrain, miniatures, maps, dice, character sheets, the old school way like we did in the basements of our parents' house back in the 80s and 90s when we were having a good time and being accused of worshiping the devil. Anyway, we're not worshiping the devil anymore, or are we? We're just having fun playing a role-playing game, specifically Pathfinder. Okay, enough about the 80s satanic panic. What we're painting today are miniatures from the Epic Encounters line by Steamforged Games. We've been working our way through our second kit. This kit is the Camp of the Bandit Twins. This is kind of a mountain-themed bandit adventure set. These kits come with a number of miniatures. This one I think is over 20 miniatures in the kit. A flip map that you can use for tactical battle map for any of your RPGs. And then an adventure in the text with stat blocks for each creature the miniature represents, some sample adventures and encounters, some treasure table and information. Really cool kind of self-enclosed kit and great sculpts on the miniatures. I am a huge fan now of these Steamforged Games minis. I may have to get some for myself, but I've just got way too many unpainted miniatures to get through. So I'm trying very hard not to buy new miniatures for myself. But if you're into miniature collecting or painting, check out these Epic Encounters lines. Epic Encounters kits, I should say. We're working right now through these kind of mounted archers. These are basically the bandit archers on mountain goats. So we did one mountain goat in kind of this buff colored hide with brown fur. And we started working on the archer, some of their details on their saddle and kit, their quiver, etc. And then we did another, the twin sister, you could say, of this miniature. But this one we did in kind of a black and gray for the goat, but the same color scheme for the mounted bandit. So we'll work on finishing these up. But before we get to that, we kind of like to have our miniatures like in a production line almost. So as these are kind of waiting to get some paint, I figure we might slap some primer on the next wave of minis in the kit that I feel like painting. And for me, I think one of the coolest minis in the kit are these really simple sword and board bandits. Looking at the sculpt here, you can see there's a lot of detail on this guy. Really cool shield, keeping up with that mountain goat kind of theme that we've seen on the regalia of the mounted archers. Really cool dynamic pose. There's lots of gear on this guy. If you look at his stat block, he's got some leather armor. So we've got like some studded leather over here on the like the chest and the bracers. We've got like this leather hauberk and skirt. And then this Boda bag and other kit, and then this really cool kind of recurved dagger here. Not quite, there we go, that's in focus. Not quite what I'd call a kukri, but kind of this recurved dagger. Might be kukri shaped, kind of. kukris are more curved downwards as opposed to this kind of upward hook to this blade. But a really cool wooden shield with some steel banding. Just lots of fun details that we can play with these guys. So I wanted to go ahead and get these primed up. And while the primer is drying, we can kind of bounce back and forth between this and our mountain goats. That's how I roll. I always seem to want to have new projects in progress. Right now in my own collection, I've got 3 or 4 miniatures that need to have spray fix done to them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miniatures that are in some progress or other. I've got some that are primed and waiting to start painting. It's just, I need to get some done to the finish line and put them away and start on new projects and keep going with some order and semblance of progress to my own collection. But for now, let's look at these bandits and get these primed. So these have been right out of the box. They're ready to accept primer right out of the box, which is also a handy feature of these Steamforged miniatures. So to prime this up, we'll start with black. We'll use this Vallejo primer, which is a acrylic polyurethane blend. That'll give us our deepest shadows. I always start with my prime with black. Other people may start with kind of earth tones or other neutral tones as opposed to black to kind of give them more of a natural feel to them, especially if they're doing things like skin tones or certain animals or something. But for me, the black, gray, white progression seems to work just fine. So we're going to get black primer everywhere there's plastic. So the entire model, face to helmet. And these models, the plastic is not very hydrophobic, so the primer sticks to it right away. Some other plastic miniatures I've worked with tend to be a little bit more hydrophobic, or they may have mold release residue still on the model, and so the primer won't lay down very well. If that's the case, you can always just wash them off with dish soap and a toothbrush. Give them a good scrub, rinse them off in some lukewarm water, and let them dry thoroughly. And then once they're completely dry and all that soap has gotten that mold release, then they'll accept primer and paint much more readily. I remember first getting some of those early plastic miniatures I started painting, and the packaging, the manufacturer said you can paint these right out of the package, no need to prime. So I went straight to slapping paint on them, and then I would watch as the paint would kind of peel away from the model on the surface of the figure, and like no matter how much I put down and moved it around with my brush, it would just kind of like oil and water almost, very hydrophobic surface. But giving them a nice once over with soap and water fix that. Any of your softer plastics that come out of the package, sometimes they've been sitting on the shelf at the game store or in the warehouse at the miniature manufacturer, and how they're stored or how they're shipped, you might get miniatures that have a bent surface or a bent fiddly bit, as they call them. For example, this guy's sword might be drooping down. That tends to happen more often with the softer PVC plastics. If you run into that, you can always take that model and put it into boiling water for several minutes and just let it get real nice and soft and melty, and then pull it out, safely of course, and dunk it in cold water, ice cold water. In fact, probably wet ice is the best way to describe it instead of ice water. Just a bowl full of wet ice. And as it's cooling off, you can reshape that plastic under the water, and it'll go back into what's called mold memory, So what the shape was when it came out of the mold at the manufacturer, it should kind of revert back to that position. You can help it along by holding it in position as the plastic recools, and straighten out things like bent swords, or spears are another one that kind of droop or get warped or bent on those softer plastics. Thankfully, the Steamforge models are a harder, more rigid plastic, and they don't seem to have any issues with bending or warping. Okay, so that's one of our bandits primed away. Hi Jinx, thanks for popping in. If you're driving, be careful. For priming, I like to use just a gnarly old brush that the bristles are falling apart on. They don't mind a little pushing and smooshing around. I'm not too worried about maintaining the point or tip of the brush, because I want this to get into all those cracks and crevices. So the gnarlier the bristles, the better, because I want that to get in there, in those, between those boot laces, between those pant seams, underneath the shield. And I don't want to do that with a nice new brush that has a well-maintained tip, because that'll just mess that up real quick. So keep your old gnarly crappy brushes around for sloppy work like priming or base painting, terrain painting. You can see this method is very haphazard. I'm sprinkling my fingers with overcast paint, right? Like I'm getting little droplets of primer fly off of here. That's happening onto my paint mat, my desk. So obviously don't do this in nice clothes or, right in front of your computer screen, because you'll end up with paint droplets everywhere. A little bit of hydrophobia going on the shield here, but nothing too difficult to manage. These kind of rocky, snowy bases. Make sure we got all the surfaces primed, including under this kilt. This kit has 4 of these bandits, so we'll get 4 of them primed away. Pauline's popping up to check on things, doing a little bit of cat quality control, including getting some cat hair on the bench. We don't want that, do we? We don't want no cat hair in our paint. Oh man. Okay. Thanks for visiting. So the black primer, I'm just really just laying it on everywhere there's plastic, laying it on not too thick, like we don't want to obscure the detail of the sculpt, but just slapping a good brush full on the model and then using the brush to kind of push it around and move it into the cracks and crevices of the sculpt. There's a really cool wood grain to the shield here. These guys are supposed to be like in a mountaintop bandit camp, but these sword and board guys, their arms are uncovered. They're bare armed. It's got to be freezing. Maybe it's summertime in the mountains. Make sure every surface is covered. And let that start drying. That's bandit number 3, black brown. No. And a lot of times I'll have the models black primed before the show starts, so we can get right to slap chopping. But this episode I thought I would go ahead and show the process of laying down the base coat prime. Maybe it's not very entertaining watching a gray piece of plastic turn into a black piece of plastic. But it is part of the process. I think watching the details of the model kind of come to life as you slap chop it up with the grays and then into the whites, and seeing those details kind of emerge, and you can start to see the details of the sculpt, right? What the artist was conveying when they sculpted the model and designed it, whether they sculpt it, with classic model sculpting techniques and then have them molded and cast into production molds, or if they use 3D sculpting design, right? So they'll get into like 3D modelers computer system and design in a 3D virtual space, and then have that convert to a mold. Whatever process they're using, the artist is definitely trying to tell a story through the model. I know a lot of early miniatures were just a guy standing there in a very neutral pose with a sword and a shield. But this is a very dynamic pose, like catching him mid backswing. I think the advent of digital sculpting has pushed miniature makers to having more and more detail, more and more dynamic poses, more and more visually compelling models, which is nice for our tables because they look really cool on the table, but they just make it just that little bit more to paint. I thought I caught something about this evil. How's it going? Something about a duck? What do we got cooking here? Oh. I'm going to try and sit up a little bit more straight. My posture is horrible, and it's not really helping my sciatica very much. All right, so we'll set these bandits aside to let this black primer really set up and dry on these models before we get into slap chopping them. It won't take too long. I'm a little worried to hear what you guys have cooking up. I think I saw in the Discord a model of a commissar duck. A communard? All right, let's take a look at our mountain goat mounted archers here. This one has her hair painted. The other one has not yet had her hair painted in, so I'm going to start there. And I think I'm going to make her hair a brown color. We've got a brown goat with a black-haired rider. We'll have a black goat with a brown-haired rider. Just for fun. Let's get a nice detail brush out with a good tip. Throw it at the paint mat for good luck. There we go, kind of like a sandy brown hair color. Maybe a dirty blonde? Okay. All right, I think next we'll work on the fur that we have ringed around their boots here, on their hood. They have like this little belt at the bottom of their jacket and around their shoulders. And for that, we're going to make it a kind of a grayish white fur. So we'll use Holy White for that, which has a kind of a gray shadow up to a light gray white. Okay, okay. All right, all right. So you're saying we're going to print up some ducks to paint on the Barnabas brushes show. Could be fun. Okay, so I'll just lay this down on here. This will the gray part of this paint will kind of go into the cracks and cracks is the wrong word, but the deeper parts of these this fur texture, and then the highest highlights will stay kind of a white color. So not a whole lot different from the Slap Chop Prime, but it'll accentuate the whites, I think. It's a good color for like a mountain fur, like an ermine or I don't know, rabbit. A fine chinchilla coat. So we got both boots, the belt, both shoulders, and the hood. Okay. And we'll do the same for our dark-haired rider on the buff goat. I'm doing these boots, this little tuft of fur or ring of fur on the boots. You can see on these kind of the knee armor, there's some studs, like studded leather, right? Those are usually metal. Should we get both shoulders? When that dries down, that'll have a white highlight to it. It's going to already starting to form. Okay. So now we have those rivets on the studded leather and some of the ram's head kind of motif on the saddle, quiver. So we've got a few pieces where we can paint with a metallic color. I think to stand out on that those browns of the leather and the knee pieces, we'll use golden armor. This is a rich brownish gold. I think we might use this on the bow as well, just to keep our color scheme tight. Okay, so we've got this little ram's head here. On the quiver. Little buckles. All these little studs on the knee pads here. So we're just going to get a little bit of this paint on the tip of our brush and then just touch the tip to those studs. And let the paint just kind of flow over it. Can't climb on the computer. That's not good. Don't climb on the computer. No, ma'am. We'll kind of get the horns of the bow and the grip here. Okay. Alright, and then we'll do the same thing with our dirty blonde rider on her black coat. Interesting texture on the grips here. It looks like the metal here also has the little ram's head motif, just kind of upside down. Interesting. So what we'll probably do is hit these with some wash to kind of bring out some of that detail. Okay, we've got the quiver and her canteen, and we'll do her armor studs. That's like the third time I've dropped a mini today. It's tired fingers, I guess. Maybe my depth perception is off. Alright, we'll set these guys aside for now, and let's take a look at those other bandits. It might be time to Add in a little slap chop too. This guy looks fairly well dried with the black, so let's hit him with some slack. Get out some more paper towel to dry my brush off on. Yeah, it's not far. And they're pretty resilient models, so I'm not gonna break anything, thank goodness. Resin prints, maybe you might get something break off. If that happens, you just hit them with the glue and wait for that to cure. Okay, so we're gonna hit now with our gray primer. And for dry brushing purposes, I'm just going to use this cheap eyeliner blender. Works perfectly well for dry brushing small miniatures. Just going to load a little bit of that gray primer in the tip and then brush it out onto a paper towel until there's nothing left on the brush, at least to the naked eye. Same as always, get your brush to where looks like there's no more pigment left. But then as we brush with a downward stroke on our model, we start seeing the pigment come off onto the texture of the figure. Just gonna get a little bit more off on the side, see? There we go. And for the gray midtones, we can lay it on pretty thick, that's fine. Because we want to cover most of the model in the midtone gray, leaving just the darkest parts, that black that we have in there. We want to try and use a downward stroke as much as possible because we're trying to recreate where light would hit this model as if light is right above it. The sun at noon. The sun at the zenith. And if we're getting some overbrush onto the base, that's alright, because we're going to end up painting that base anyway. I just want to reveal that texture of that rock and snow underneath his feet there. Okay, so that's kind of revealing the texture of that model, the sculpt, the facial expression, the wood texture of the shield, the creases in the leather boots. Lots of cool detail on that, just on the gray. Yeah, paint chipping off the models definitely sucked. That's why all my figures, what plastic, resin, metal, whatever you got going, uh, I always hit them with a two, 1 to 2 coats of like a clear coat or dull coat after I'm done, just to protect that finish. The cool thing about the plastic models is they hold the paint pretty well. I've had several miniatures that I've had painted for years, and I've had them knocked around on the table. I've had people pick them up with their Cheeto fingers, and the paint job holds up thanks to the spray fix. Yep, hard coat's another example. That's a brush on, isn't it, or is that a spray? Yeah. Yeah, that works great too. Uh, I have a couple brush on finishes like that. Um, I have one that's like a more of a gloss finish. So if I have like a shiny surface, like a the chitinous carapace of like a drow, big spider belly of a drow, and I want that to kind of have a shiny finish. I'll use the gloss finish brush on to give it that extra kind of sheen, like a hard shiny carapace. Look at that. That's nothing a little bit of super glue won't fix. But this brush has seen its better days, so I don't know. Maybe I'll repair it. Yeah, just pop a glob of super glue in that ferrule and stick that wood handle back in. Should be fine. But ain't nobody got time for that. Huh. Cool. That's all right. I have a drawer full of them. So maybe not full. I've got a few backup, we could say. So right out of the package, nice new eyeliner blender brush. $2 at anywhere you pick up your ham sandwich. But we're getting pretty close to the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and maybe that's just a sign that from the powers that be that I should take a little break tonight from the rest of the slap chopping and hit it back up next time on Barnabas Brushes. We'll be back again Monday at 5 o'clock Eastern for My Miniature Mondays. We might work a little bit more on that Tyrannosaurus we started on this week. I am playing with that model and fiddling with the colors. I'm toning down some of the lilac color that we got off of that first paint, and the more it's dried, the less I'm liking it. But washes to the rescue, right? It's nothing to get upset about and throw in the trash. We can play with it until we like it. So I'll be back again, like I said, 5 o'clock Eastern on Monday for My Miniature Mondays. Then back again Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern on the Elite Encounters channel. Be sure to check that out as we continue our search for our friend Several. Hopefully rescuing him and bringing him back to where he belongs. And then Barnabas has some very tough decisions ahead of him. He wants to see his friend safe, but he also knows he needs to get back home. There is something nagging at him, a dawning, a revelation, a realization that those children, those people that he cared about, who he thought were dead, may not be dead. They may be suffering a fate worse than death. And Barnabas needs to figure that out and take some ownership for what he did, what he feels responsible for, at least. Granted, it was an accident, but it was an accident on his watch, and people died because of his cowardice, and I think he needs to face the music for that. But we'll see what happens Tuesday on Elite Encounters. Be sure to check that out, 6 o'clock Eastern. I believe on that episode, we also are finally going to reveal, as long as the stars align and everything goes as planned the rest of this week on the kind of the behind the scenes here at Elite Encounters, we are going to have a major announcement. Lots of things on the horizon for the Elite Encounters team, and we're very excited about what this new year is bringing to us in content creation, in community outreach, and reaching a broader, bigger audience. That's our goal, is to bring this type of entertainment to as many people as we can, especially the storytelling we're doing on the Soul Severed campaign and the Elite Encounters role-playing game shows. Maybe watching painting miniatures is entertaining. I don't know, but I hope so. At least it doesn't put people to sleep. Remember, we are pushing to get to 50 followers here at Barnabas Brushes, so if you haven't already, please hit that follow button. I'm sure everyone here has already. But if you know of people that might want to come in and check out the show, have them come in and give us a follow. Once we get to that 50 followers, we are going to give away that WizKids Beholder miniature custom painted to the winner specification. So we'll pick one lucky follower at random to get this model painted up to their choosing, the color scheme of their choosing. I'll get it shipped out to them. And this is a thank you for supporting Barnabas Brushes and supporting the Elite Encounters Network as a whole. Speaking of supporting the Elite Encounters Network, don't forget to check out the Patreon link. If you go to the Elite Encounters page, there's a link there for the Patreon. We've reorganized our Patreon subscription tiers. There are now 4 tiers, ranging from a couple bucks a month to $15 a month. So, yeah, I'm glad I can keep you awake so far, Jinx. Appreciate it. But yeah, so if, less than the price of Amazon Prime, you could support Elite Encounters, and that money goes into creating more content, more tech, more materials, more miniatures to paint, more brushes, more primer. More cameras, more lights, more sound equipment. you name it. We are doing our best to bring you the cutting edge of the technology so that we can produce high quality shows uh, to bring this kind of nerd entertainment to you, our friends, our supporters, and hopefully as we grow to more and more people out there in the world. We'd really like to share what we're doing. So if you have friends that are into this kind of thing at all, let them know. Have them check us out. Until then, we'll see you next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm hoping Overwatch will show up tomorrow on his stream around 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock Eastern. Overwatch, if you're out there, please feel better and pop up and make some content for us. We'd love to see you trying to farm while Evil and company totally chide you for your farming skills. Otherwise, play something else. Play something cool. But we'd love to see you back on the streams. I'm sure we'll get there soon. All right, so we'll catch you guys next time. Have a great night. Stay warm. Be careful. Drive safe, whatever you're doing. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening. Good night.